Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to today's conversation on Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane and my co-host, David. David, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be back again.
And as our guest is David's invited guest, I am going to hand over to David to introduce Jules.
Thank you, Sarah. And hello, Jules, and welcome.
Hi, guys. Hello.
It's really lovely to see you here. I think I got to know you, Jules, I think it's about 2 years ago now.
It must be, David. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right.
Our paths crossed through kind of synchronicity, so to speak.
That's right, yes.
And since then, since those 2 years, we've been up to visit you in your shop up in Ellen and in Scotland, if anybody's outside of here. And
Yes.
we've really, I would like to say, really made quite a close friendship and connection along the way.
We have, absolutely.
And you have such an amazing knowledge of crystals, and it's a real depth to go into the crystals. And I think this is really something, because you can bring something new to the table, and we go into a shop and we think, oh, right, all these lovely crystals. But sometimes as you've kind of chosen the theme of the culture of crystals, this is going to open up another level of learning or awareness for people that are using crystals now or looking to use them in the future.
That's right. So I hope so anyway.
So I'll hand it over to you, and if you can just explain a little bit who you are and why this subject was so passionate for you that you've chosen tonight.
All right, okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you both for inviting me. It's a real pleasure and honour to be on board with you guys tonight. My name is Julie Davidson. I live up in Aberdeenshire, and crystals was not my first sort of occupation, career, as it were. It was something that I fell into in my late 40s. I held three predominant careers actually throughout my life. One was a secretary in the oil industry when it was booming in Aberdeen, going back to the 80s. And I progressed along the way in many different oil companies, latterly working on the Piper Bravo project, to the project manager eventually. That was my sort of secretarial career. Then I then left and I joined Aberdeen Journals as a telesales advisor, which was selling advertising to all sorts of businesses. And I think I was there for about 4.5, 5 years. And then we moved out to Croft out in Rothay Norman. And the girls were just young. My two girls were just young at that stage. And we really got into the crofting life, the good life. And I also worked at the local private nursing home, where I did about 5.5 years of being a care assistant. And predominantly the 40 of this particular nursing home was caring for Alzheimer's and dementia and the frail and elderly. And that gave me a real insight in, I think that, the strife ahead that, people who end up being in a nursing home and, their partners, their families, their children, and so on and so forth, has to contend with. And it was in between that phases when we had actually just bought our home just outside Orkneygat in Ellen. I'd actually started my first 2-year crystal diploma course on learning about crystals, psychic development, and oils and herbs. And that was my first 2-year diploma, which was down in Dumfriesshire with Sara. that was in 2008. I opened up the shop in 2011. And in the autumn of that year, I decided I would like to do another 2-year diploma. And that was with Kathleen Murray, who's now sadly departed quite a number of years ago. But she was more local up in Riney near Huntly. And I did another 2-year course with Kathleen and a number of courses thereafter with her. And then more recently, I've done a 2-year course diploma with Philip Permute, which is an ongoing course with Philip, and we work together. He sometimes comes up and visits. We do crystal healing levels 1 and 2 up here. And I've gone down to Philip's place down in St. Albans. And he's got an immense array of books that you can learn from as well. But basically that is my grounding in learning about crystals myself at a deeper level with those 3 teachers. And then since 2011, as I say, it's then been just learning on the job in the shop. And, you know, the most extraordinary people that come in on a day-to-day basis, telling you their stories, what's happened to them, and how people just open up. It's all learning. It's very humbling as well when you learn, you know, what people have gone through. It actually, it's a wonder why how you manage, how you still keep on going.
Yeah.
You know, and the strength and the fortitude of humans is phenomenal. That's what I've learned.
I think that if you're working within the energy of crystals and those crystals are kept at their highest vibration, then
yes,
that is going to be one of the reasons that people are become aware of that energy without maybe even necessarily knowing about it. It's the energy of the crystals that supports them with the opening up. And they may be saying things that they would never have said to anyone else, but somehow, but it's also the energy and vibration of the individual, you know, sort of, and where you are. I mean, I do have quite a lot of crystals around my house, and I definitely have them in my therapy room.
Yes.
And I think, but it's also the other energies that you bring. I don't know what other things you've studied, but sort of because of the Reiki, because of the sound, because of so much, it supports people to open up. I don't ask people questions for me to have the answers. The questions are for them to have the answers. And if crystals can help them to do that. But I remember years ago walking into a crystal shop. It was somewhere up in Scotland, actually. I just can't remember where it was. The place was filthy. And I came out, and I'm not really normally sensitive to energies. But I came out of there and I had to sit in the car and I opened the Reiki channel for the place. Because the energies were so dull and deadened.
Yes.
Because they were not being cared for.
This is the thing, you know, that I was about to touch on. When you have a shop, it's a continuous process of cleaning right around the shop. Yeah. You know, it's literally every day you're doing something, and then about a week, 2 weeks later, you're starting again. It's continually dusting, washing the crystals. This may seem, you know, quite absurd, but, you know, you're on your hands and knees with a dustpan and brush, and you're cleaning the skirting boards, the corners. It's keeping all energies and areas cleansed and cleared as you possibly can.
Yeah. Oh, I worked in retail for a number of years, so yes.
Yeah. It is, and you have to be on top of that completely. I've learned that along the way as well, actually.
And I think that goes for the home as well, isn't it? It's not a case of just going and buying a crystal and saying, "Oh, you're going to do everything for me." there's a care side to it as well. And I don't know whether that comes in to the topic of your talk.
Yeah, yes, that's right, David. Yes,
you know, the culture of it.
Yes, sorry, David. Yes.
Go on.
No, I was about to say it is keeping, you know, your own environment as cleansed and cleared as you possibly can. And, you know, you go, like I say, David, you go into a crystal shop and you connect with a crystal, you buy it, you take it home. And even although we do our best to keep everything as sort of cleansed and cleared as we possibly can, when you take, it's imperative, when you take your crystal home with you, you cleanse and clear that crystal of, you know, all energies that may have attached to it. And then it is bringing your energy and connection to that crystal. And, you know, you cleanse and clear that crystal to ever how your method is. And then you connect with that crystal. And your journey then continues with that particular crystal.
I think what might be sort of helpful here is how do you cleanse? I know and something that's come just recently, but I've certainly worked with the sound, with the toning, and
yes,
it can make a massive difference. It was, oh crikey, over 12 years ago, and I was at a messenger summit, and one of the ladies had brought a load of crystals, and I was very much at the beginning of working with the toning, with the sound, and I and there were a couple of people around, and they were aware of what I did, and so I toned to one of the crystals, and somebody else was holding the second one, and I then gave them the one I toned to and said, could they feel the difference? And they could.
Absolutely right.
But then recently somebody has said something about clapping, actually to clear energies in your house by giving, I'm not going to do it because I don't know what it'll do to the microphone, but really giving a good, strong clap to sort of break up negative energies in a room, in a home, which again, I'm guessing would support crystals.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the topic is the culture of crystals. So I'll start from there, and then we can go on to, you know, how do you work with them? How do you cleanse them? How do you clear them? So the topic is, you know, the culture of crystals. And we mentioned earlier historical information, but let's just say crystals have been on the go for over, as far as we know, way over 5,000 years when they first came into use, mainly with the Egyptians, who used them to adorn their breastplates. They ground up lapis to use for paint and makeup, some of the uses for them. But at that time in the world, as it was formed at the time, crystals were a renowned thing. Now, at that time, as I say, continents weren't attached. You know, people couldn't travel from continent to continent, but yet the usage and the meanings and the aspects of crystals was actually known throughout the world. So people were tuning in to those, you know, aspects and qualities of crystals going back to Neolithic man at that time. And so that has gone forward in history to this present day, the meanings and the aspects of particular crystals. Commonly, the culture of crystals is you go into a shop or wherever you get your crystals from, you're attracted to a crystal, you vibe with it, and you take it home, you cleanse and clear it, and you begin to start to work with it. Now, what commonly happens is it'll be very much in your focus for a few days or a few weeks at a time, and then you'll just put it down. During that time, that crystal has aligned with your energies and vice versa. And whatever has had to be achieved by that connection has subtly happened. Now, you may not be aware of it. You may be. you'll realize there is a frequency change that happens within you, or a thought process has shifted, 360 degrees, and you feel something has changed. You've become, enlightened. A blockage has happened, and so something has moved, within the meridians of your body, and the on-passing of energy has flowed up and through your body and out. And like I say, you may not know what that has been about, but it's been necessary and it's had to happen. After a few weeks, as I say, you put your crystal down, you then are attracted to another crystal. And so on and so forth. And so it goes on. And you vibe and you connect with this crystal. You work away with it. Some crystals have a much more poignant and potent energy than others. And that's just due to the frequency, whatever you have had to work on in your awareness. But always remember, it goes deeper than this. What you may think is like surface level conscious awareness goes to subconscious and the unconscious mind. And depending, where you have the crystals, where you've got them placed in your house, or, by your bed, underneath your pillow, or physically on your person, will have quite a poignant change in you. The depth will be as you determine it. So it just really depends. How much are you willing to go beyond or below surface level within your own psyche and awareness? You want to get more out of it, then you have to take it very seriously and look very deep within yourself. As I say, you look at a crystal, it's going to provoke or bring up something for you. And then you, being in your self-awareness, if you can, then begin to ask questions. Well, why? Why did I get that reaction? Why did I think that way? Or why did I feel that way? And get curious and ask questions and go that little bit deeper and deeper as to what's going on. And it's all about finding out more about yourself, know thyself at a deeper level. Yeah. And it just depends how far you want to go with that. It's your determination there.
It's fascinating because, even though most of us, I think, and a lot of people who are tuning in will have a collection of crystals in their house, I'm still looking for the one that stops the addiction to crystals. But every time I buy one, it doesn't happen. But,
it's called amethyst.
No, amethyst is my addiction.
But then I have a lot of amethyst.
But if I can go back to what you said, something at the beginning of your description about the Egyptians and working with the crystals.
Yes.
Even though we've got all that books now that information is coming out in, there was an instinctive knowing, wasn't there, on what to use and how to use it. And it's like when you look now, you can see in many ordained, shall we say, places or churches and robes and ceremonial garments, there is always the inclusion of an amethyst or a diamond, which is all the same family, so to speak.
That's right.
And sapphires. So were they put in as a healing, or did they know that they carry such a power? Yeah, it would be interesting, I think, if we ever knew how that came about.
Absolutely. I think it was all of that. As far as I can understand it, it was a position of wealth and royalty and nobility. The crystals adorned their cloaks, and their crowns, their headwear, and so on and so forth, David. But yes, there was also attached to that the aspects, the healing aspects to that. They were also used by the ancient Celts and the Druids. They were used maybe to go out for like a hunting expedition, or like one warrior, a tribe was attacking another warrior tribe, and it was like for a good battle to be won. That's what I've learned so far anyway about it with my reading on the subject.
You're talking about history. Just obviously, it was just like there was something, and I can't find it. I did so much research when sort of doing a book that I've done, but the New Testament describes the New Jerusalem as being built on foundations of crystals. Each crystal is said to be carved with the name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. But I believe there was this breastplate, and a breastplate was made for him, and that's Aaron, brother of Moses. And it is known the breastplate of righteousness and prophecy, also the Essen. It described, and I think it had the 12 stones in it, Old Testament, as containing 12 stones mounted in gold. So even within Christianity, and I am sure within many other religions, because there's talk here of other beliefs throughout, crystals have been used, as you said before, for centuries pre-Christ.
That's right.
Sort of, yes, the Egyptians, but also the Chinese, and many other cultures, and it will be in South America as well, I've no doubt, and the American Indian cultures. So absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, Sarah. Yes. David, your other question was how to use crystals and how to cleanse them.
Yeah, we spoke a bit about that.
Yeah.
I've got something else just popped in my head, but I'll let you answer that. They're very busy with me tonight.
Predominantly, you'll have your tumble stones. When you start out on crystals, you'll more than likely buy your tumble stones to start with. And then as, the love and the connection, carries on, you go into bigger pieces. But let's just start off, say, with your tumble stones. You are taught that the foundational structure with crystal healing is the chakra system, which is your 7 round points of energy that is contained within the human body, starting, say, down by the hip area, working your way up to the crown chakra, and it goes up above and beyond that as well. And each chakra, you will have a corresponding crystal that links with that particular chakra. And the color of that crystal as well is the same color as the chakra. That is the fundamental sort of system that we use. Of course, it means with that, you can use any other crystal you may wish to on that chakra or around the body. You are given, the chakra is a foundation for us all to understand and grasp the concept of healing, but it goes over, and beyond and out with that, and what you can do, and then how you can use crystals. Quite simply, if you want to use that crystal on that particular area of the body, you do it. You absolutely do it. There's no rules that withhold you or put you down there. If it feels right for you, then you do that. You use that crystal relating to that area that you would like to use it for, or for a particular purpose. As long as you connect with it and you make that, that deep connection and awareness, go for it. Absolutely go for it. And don't put any restrictions on yourself. Trust the process and trust yourself and, you know, your own intuition. So your tumble stones are the easiest ones to use because they're nice and small. You know, you carry them on your body or as close to your skin as you possibly can. For women, you know, I always say, put them in your bra. For guys, you know, in your jeans pockets. You can carry them in your hand. You can keep them in little bags and, you know, and carry them in your handbag, you know, or your haversack or whatever you use. Yes. Oh, I've got things lying about here somewhere. Yeah. So, you know, as I say, keep them on you, your tumble stones. And I think people say, well, how does that work? Well, as I said earlier, you've picked the crystal for a reason. You want to keep it on your body for a purpose. And this is where, and then it acts as a reminder for you to dig that little bit deeper into your own realms of the third eye. You know, that's one of the chakras, the third eye. You know, dig, ask questions, find out what's going on with yourself. Because to know yourself is a really good thing, actually. It really is. You have your crystals there to remind you, and it serves a purpose to ask questions, dig deeper, go further. Your other big pieces, I mean, I don't know if I've got something here I can maybe show you, just, you know, for handiness sake. Here we go. You can use things, this size, you know, that is like your small to medium hand size pieces. Well, these are nice and lovely to have around you to hold like this. They're bigger and they're nice and they're comfortable to use if you like to sit and do some meditation. You can have your crystals beside you, you know, if you know you're writing a book, Sara, for instance, and I'm sure you mentioned as well last week, you've got them on your desk all around you. David, I know you work with crystals around you. I do, beside me all the time. Because you can tune in, you'll get a download of messages perhaps, or you may feel if you've got somebody sitting opposite you, you can give that crystal to that person to hold because you feel there's a connection there and, you know, you'll get a movement of energy with that person. Or if you're doing a crystal treatment, you know, where you've got your client lying on a couch, you know, I strategically place crystals on the body and underneath the couch, which I have set up for the client beforehand. So I will have crystals below the couch, hottering away, you could say, you know, about half an hour to an hour before my client arrives. And I begin to tune into the client. I don't know what they've come to me for, but somehow the answers begin to drop in before they arrive. That's another way how I use it, or use the crystals, I should say. Around the home, as I say, have them around, you know, your desk, your workplace, your living areas where you are a lot of the time, like the living room, dining room, in your bedroom. Some crystals can slowly, if they're a softer porous crystal, I certainly wouldn't have them in the bathroom or the kitchen because they're humid areas. You know, the likes of your selenite. I mean, this is celestite. It will eventually begin to disintegrate over time. So, hallway, you can have them in the hallway, greeting people as they come in through the door. Living room, bedroom, dining room, I would say is your best areas. Another great job for crystals, and I absolutely love doing this, is when I'm asked to cleanse and clear a house, and you know that is to clear it of energies of that no longer serve that person. I go around gridding and cleansing the whole of the house and the garden. That is a lovely job to do, I have to say. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to do that. And you grid the outside of the garden property. Now, when I say gridding, you use, I was going to say if I can find them to hand, but you use little black tourmaline crystals. And in every corner of your garden perimeter, every corner, you put in a black tourmaline crystal. Front and back garden. You can use it by the doorways, the front and back doorway. And it then acts as this crystalline network that surrounds your house. You can then go to the outside building, actual physical bricks and mortar of your house, and grid around that. Now, I use insulated quartz for that. You can then go into the house, depending on how strong the energy is, and in every corner, in every room, in the hallways included as well, you can put a little pinch of rock salt or sea salt. And that is the old White Witch's method of cleansing and protecting your home. Now, you can put in a pinch of rock salt on all the corners of your garden perimeter and the bricks and mortar of your house, the corners of that, all the way around. You're then going into the inside the house, and you're doing each room, corridor, and then you're actually using your Californian white sage and going into every room, every cupboard, hallway, loft, understairs cupboard with your burning sage. And that is to properly cleanse and clear your home. Now you've got the windows and doors open for a free flow of energy and air, letting old stagnant energy go and welcoming in new energy. And all the time, you're seeing, you're obviously protecting yourself and the inhabitants of that home, and you're bringing in Archangel Michael to be with you now to cleanse and clear any energies that no longer serve this, inhabitants in the home and the household. And that's what you're continually doing as you're going around all the rooms. It takes about 2-3 hours to do that. And then you talk to the people as well and see where their fears are lying, what are they holding on to, etc., etc. And it's finally to move that energy from them as well. So that's a very thorough cleansing and clearing.
That's really interesting. We spoke, and I'm sure people were going out and thinking, oh, what can I do? But as you said before, we touched on about it's important to cleanse the crystals themselves. It's because, like us, when we're working, we need a shower and we need to freshen up.
Absolutely, yes.
And our crystals need the same. So are there particular ways of cleansing crystals that you use, Jules?
Yeah, predominantly I use fresh, clean running tap water. I mean, if you're lucky enough to have a little stream going through your back garden, that would be brilliant to use that. But most of us, we don't have that. But tap running water is what I use. And I use a vegetable sieve rack, primarily because if it's metal, it can sometimes scratch the crystals. So I use a plastic sieve, and I'll maybe get some of my tumble stones in there, and I run it, holding it for about 5 minutes underneath the water. And I'm continually saying, because the mind is a very strong tool to use by the way of power of intention. Your thoughts matter. Watch what you think. So the power of intention, you want to use it for the good of all. So as the water is running over the crystals, I'm continually saying, please release any energies that no longer serve these crystals Let the energy pass on to a place of higher light. We bring in new energies, new feelings, new light, new and so on and so forth are just some of the things that I say. It's difficult at times, to keep your crystals, especially the tumble stones, in the shop cleared, because it's dust the whole time that it's accumulating. So like I said, it is an ongoing process of trying to clean all the tumble stones. So that is one method that I use. You have to watch, for instance, there's fluorite, celestite, and selenite. These are soft porous crystals. So you have something in the geological world called the Moh scale. That's MOH, and it runs from 0 to 10. Now, 0 would be talcum powder. It's actually a crystal. And 10, 8, 9, and 10 would be anything from the quartz family. Rose quartz, amethyst, clear quartz. Like your celestite, that's about, in softness, 2 or 3. So you cannot submerge this and soak this for long periods of time.
No,
in water.
I make mistake
and fall apart. So yes, it's learning to know and recognize fluorite, celestite, and selenite. Three are quite soft crystals you wouldn't do that with. Incense or sage, you can cleanse with crystals with incense and sage. So pretend this is your Californian white sage, you light it, and then you cleanse your crystal like this, with the smoke going around and in and around and above and underneath. And you are cleansing and you're saying in your mind the cleansing sort of little prayer that you use to cleanse and clear all energies and moving, energies on that no longer serve. That's another way. Now, I think that is really just the two methods that I use, and I've used it for years. Cleansing water, running water, or sage, light a sage stick.
Am I right in thinking that the term friable, which basically means that it's better not to put particular, and I'm just thinking about fuchsite, which you hold that and the glitter comes off all over your hands.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the mica, little pieces of mica come off.
Yeah,
glitter.
So I believe the term is friable, which means actually it's better not to put it in water because eventually it will just sort of disintegrate. But the other thing that I've heard is about, especially the night of the full moon, putting your crystals out for the full moon. But you can also do it for sunshine. But I'm right in thinking, aren't I, that there are some crystals you shouldn't put out for sunshine. And isn't amethyst one of those? Because isn't that
right?
Because it turns it from its beautiful lilacs and purples, etc., into the oranges.
It fades, yes. So yes, you're right, Sarah. Either a full moon or a new moon, you can put your crystals out at night time, and then you can keep them out. I mean, let's just say it's okay to keep them out until like the next day, by which case the sun has risen and the heat and the energy from the sun actually re-energizes and gives, a vitality and energy back into the crystal. So you take it back in, and then, of course, you can lay your crystals out on the earth, on the grass and the earth. You can lay the crystals out there, and you're putting the energies back into the earth to be reabsorbed and refreshed and renewed and re-energized. You can do that as well, and keeping them out until the next day ensures you've had the cleansing of the full or new moon, you've got the re-energizing of the sun, and you've laid them on the earth or the grass, assuming it's safe to do so. And take them in, give them a little wash with water, and dry them off, and you're ready to go again. Now, my teacher, my second teacher, Kathleen Murray, her house was filled with so many crystals, and she would say to us she couldn't possibly go around and cleanse, take them all off the shelf and wash them, with water and so on. And what she used to do was, it was a fabulous saying, and she used to say, return to source. With the power of your intention, you say, return to source. And that was her way of cleansing and clearing her crystals. So basically, they go back to the energy that they were formed in. And I suppose, for argument's sake, completely neutral and innocent. There was an innocence, with taking, the crystal out of the earth. Yeah. Never been used or touched by man or anything like that. That's what she used to do. Yeah.
Good to see you back, David.
Yes, sorry about that. I just went off for a little drink.
Yeah. So that's another way. And of course, I know, Sarah, you use sound, don't you? That's another great way.
Yes, I do. And I use sound in the form of toning. But okay, if you've got a Tibetan singing bowl or a drum, there are many things that you can use. But it's just something because I also work with dragons. And I actually work with the dragons that guard over the earth's crystals. Mm-hmm. And the thought came to me while you were speaking was actually to invite the dragons to cleanse the crystals with their fire.
That's wonderful. Yes.
So yes. So if you've got, obviously they're not going to be taking the dust off. We've got to do that.
Yeah. That's right. Yes.
We have to participate in this ourselves. Can't leave it to everybody else, but there are aspects that we have to deal with. But yeah, I mean, starting working with the dragons, and they've said, you can ask every day for a crystal for your pocket. You may not feel it there, but some people will. You can either choose the crystal or you can leave it to the dragons for that crystal. Mm-hmm. And that is something I do on a daily basis. It's just like, I have no idea what crystal will support me today. So whichever it is, guys, quite happy in my pocket, please.
Okay, yeah. And do you pick a crystal, Sarah?
No, I leave it to the dragons.
A physical one, do you change every day, or is it the intention of the crystal?
No, it is just purely a matter of asking the dragons for a crystal for my pocket every day. And the way I look at that is that if they give me the energies of a crystal for my pocket, those crystal energies are the purest because they haven't had the chance to be sort of contaminated.
Yeah.
So any crystal energy brought to us via the dragons, especially as they're the dragons that guard over the earth's crystals, and each one of them has their own name, and so yes, it is. It's it's just something I've been doing now since I realised I was working with them, and they said we can do that. Now we have actually got a question here. First of all, Janet says hi to both of you, and then Eileen has said, how often should you cleanse your crystals?
That it depends on how, what's the frequency that you're using them. If you're using something daily, I would say about once a week, once a fortnight, with running water, would absolutely do it. You'll get a feeling if something's in need of maybe perhaps a cleanse and a refresh. a bit of a rest, perhaps. You will actually know that, because once you do that and you take the crystal back into your energy, you'll look at the crystal and it's completely changed. The energy of that crystal has changed, and it's re-energized and it's ready to work with you again. So really, the more you use the crystal, the more frequency you've got to cleanse it, I would say. Yes.
David.
Thank you. Yeah, I was coming back. We always have a little chat and get together before we go live. But we spoke about one crystal maybe doing one thing for somebody, yet it could be doing something different for somebody else. Yeah. And that in a way says the power of the crystals here really adjusts to what you need, whatever their properties are, doesn't it? It shows the extent of their work.
Absolutely. And this actually was part of the title, The Culture of Crystals. So you actually hit on it, David. Exactly. The culture of crystals. So as I was saying, you will work with one crystal, it'll have its time with you, and then you go on to the next crystal, and you work with that for however long that is needed. But different people, same crystal, will absolutely vibe differently. What one person needs is totally different to what another person needs. And there is no right or wrong in it, but it's right for you. And this sort of brings me to saying, it's the individuality of you as a person and the crystal that is going to align with your particular frequency. And no two people are the same. You're never going to get that. And so two people work with the same crystal, you're going to get two different outcomes. And it's what that person's needed at that time on that day. And it will change the next day. Mm-hmm. Because we're continually evolving and growing. And so the need for a particular crystal, you might need to work with one crystal for, I don't know, let's just say a fortnight, for argument's sake. And that's what your body needs. And it's the levels and the layers of the body and your aura and all the meridians that run down your body, the acupressure and the acupuncture points. It's all about releasing and blocking that energy. And you may not know what it's to do with or what it's about. You're maybe not supposed to know, but you just allow the process to happen and for it to move on. And it is a continuous evolving process, this journey called life. How we choose, which modality, holistic modality of healing, what we choose, it doesn't matter. As long as you resonate with it, you get an outcome from it. And you can use multiple facets of healing and bring them into your little medicine box. Open up the box. Okay, so I'm feeling like this today, or I don't feel too great about something. What can I go in? And that's where you pull open the lid of your medicine box and look at within and think, what can I use in here? What I know will help me. Whatever modality it is, and it works for you, and you connect with it, and you get a lot out of it, then do that. There's no right or wrong. It's only right for you.
Thinking about some of the things that I've read about crystals, and there are so many books out there that yes. There really are. And I know that there's the Crystal Bible, Volume 1 and 2, that an awful lot of people will have heard about. Is that Judy Hall, if I remember?
Judy Hall, that's right. Yeah, she's got quite a few books out that she brought out.
I've definitely got 1 and 2, the Bible. But am I right in thinking that some of the crystals are in some respects, their power can be, I don't want to say greater, but I'm just trying to, but you have to be really careful with the using of them. And am I right in thinking that obsidian and malachite that are two of the ones?
Yeah, obsidian is quite an interesting one. It's the only one that made me feel quite sick. No other crystal has affected me in that way. And actually quite low, almost like instantaneous, like depression almost is the best way I can describe it. And it's only been about the last couple of years that I have been able to use it. But it's the only crystal that's ever had that effect on me. Now, black obsidian and black tourmaline. Two black crystals, but have two different effects and usages. I love black. I'm going to say black tourmaline first. It's my favorite one. Black tourmaline I use for the root chakra and down by the bottom of the ankles, the feet, and up the legs, because black tourmaline builds up a momentum in the body when you're starting off a crystal healing treatment. And it is like a slow building up, a surge of energy going up the legs, pushing up the body, and then you begin to go into the root chakra, working up the body. Black obsidian, I feel, has a tendency like to hang on to the energy for quite a wee while, I would say. Just always be aware to thoroughly cleanse black obsidian a little bit longer, I would say. Whereas black tourmaline has got like the effect of letting that go. When you're cleansing and clearing it, it shifts it.
Right.
It doesn't hang on to the energy. Where I tend to feel sometimes black obsidian does. But that's only my experience of it. You both will have a different experience.
I'm wondering, is their structure different? Whereas obviously you've got, it's the pronunciation of some of these words, because obviously we've got so many different types of rock formation, and obviously sort of coal and sort of diamond actually comes sort of from the same so the black obsidian and the black tourmaline, are they the same structure or are they totally different? Do you know?
They're different. They're a different structure.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It is.
Yeah.
So that could be, one of the reasons, perhaps.
Yeah, I know that they are two of the ones. I'm sure they are. And I was just seeing if I could find it, but I probably can't. So carry on talking, because I'm going to see if I can find what the actual, because I'm fairly certain I put something to do with structures in. So.
Okay, right, you are. Sara. Yeah. Malachite is a lovely dark green crystal, and its content is copper. So it's very good for pain relief in arthritis and rheumatic pain. Sometimes for it's used for midwives for giving birth. Ladies can carry it when they're giving birth for pain relief. But it is, in the raw form, quite a toxic crystal. So you've got to be aware, not to have it around, especially young children, as they can put it in, their fingers in their mouth. But polished is fine, absolutely fine. Polished malachite is fine to use. Were you going to say something there, David?
Yeah, I think another one on that, what you were saying, Sara, about the high frequency, and you have to watch how much you wear them at a time. I found with me Moldavite.
That's a classic, yes.
Moldavite. I put it on and it nearly blew my head off with the energy. And I had to wean myself onto wearing it for longer periods of time.
That's right.
that really had a high vibration to it as well, doesn't it?
Moldavite is, so to let other people understand if they haven't heard about it, is a tektite. So basically, it comes from outer space. And of course, the frequency of moldavite is very high vibing. And you can, if you wear jewelry with moldavite, for instance, like a necklace, for instance, or earrings, some people have to take it off because you can get quite headachy. Now, moldavite doesn't have that effect on me.
Right.
So for whatever reason, if you can't maybe cope with moldavite, Libyan or gold Libyan tektite glass, you can use. That is an equivalent, and that can be quite spacey as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obsidian. The physicalities, physical attributes, a black volcanic glass formed out of cryptocrystalline silica grains, which may also contain iron and magnesium.
For black obsidian.
That's for obsidian. Well, that's for obsidian. They haven't one thing I haven't done is differentiate the different colours, but that is where obsidian comes from. So, and as for tourmaline, I've got to find it because everything's in alphabetical order.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say for black obsidian, you use it as again, like your old white witch's method of personal protection, and to transmute anything negative that was sent towards you, to transmute it back out again. It can be traditionally used for grief, but you'll often find black obsidian can be quite overwhelming. So the next crystal to use would be Apache Tears, which is linked to black obsidian, and it's the gentler form of black obsidian to use, because if you're going through grief, you don't want something else on top of that to bring that up for you. You want to try and, well, depending on how you work it through, at a gentler rate. Mm-hmm.
The tourmaline, and again, this is a general. Tourmaline is a complex crystalline silicate mineral containing silicon and oxygen mixed with aluminium and boron, also sodium, calcium, iron, magnesium, lithium. And
yes.
So they couldn't be more different.
Absolutely. If you find that you're in your headspace too much, that means you're not grounded. So black tourmaline is a beautiful one to use. Or if you're working with clients who are very, very open and can be quite spacey and very ungrounded, give them black tourmaline to hold. Even better if you have one in each hand to ground them. Or a pair of boji stones, because you're wanting the right and the left sides of the body to be balanced and grounded. So a stone in each hand.
Rose, thoroughly enjoying this chat, learning loads, not getting my ironing done though.
That's a good distraction, isn't it? Who said that, Sarah? Sorry. Rose, okay. Hi, Rose.
We are actually coming to the end of the program.
Oh my gosh, already? Yes.
We've practically been going all but an hour. So before we actually finish, Jules, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd actually sort of like to share? And we'll put your website up.
Okay, thank you. I think, don't be frightened or scared to try something. If it feels right for you to try it and to use it, or you'll get an insight in maybe to do something with it in your house, or to put it in a particular place, or just let's just work with that crystal today, have it on my body, do it. You don't need permission from anyone else. Just do it and don't restrict yourself. The world's your oyster. when it comes to, picking and choosing and working with crystals. Will be for a reason, and it hopefully will, it might make itself known to you.
Bless you. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for having me.
It's been lovely to gather, for you to share all this knowledge. And I'm sure there is loads more, but more beyond we can do. But it's been a real fascinating evening. And I just want to thank you for sharing and imparting all your knowledge tonight. And I'm sure the people that watched it tonight and watching it on the catch up on the YouTube channel, whenever they do, they will find this fascinating and they will be looking for crystals very soon.
Thank you very much for inviting me, both of you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure. And the website is juleshealinggems.com.
That's it.
I've put it in the chat. I will make sure, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you look in the information below the video, you'll find the website listed there. So please feel free to explore further.
Absolutely.
And so I have a fascination for kit crystals, just in case you hadn't registered.
No.
quite deeply into them because of the connection with the dragons. But next week, I am being joined by a lady called Jessica Taylor, helping people understand their connection with others, nature, and the universe. This is a lady who had a very severe injury and recovered. She helped herself, and she had to start practically from scratch with her life. So, it did build up, understanding. How many times do we hear people say something major happened in my life and now I have a greater respect for life, and so it's so she's joining me next week. I hope you'll consider joining us. And before we go, Jenna, just tuned in now, so I've missed it, but can't wait to watch you on YouTube. So thank you, Jenna, and we look forward. Any comments, you can leave comments, folks, under the video on YouTube. I usually get notified of those, and I will make sure the others also hear about those. So please, if you've got any comments, any feedback, please don't hesitate to put something on there. Or obviously you can connect with any of us through our websites, which are under the YouTube video.
What's it called, Sarah? Sorry, on YouTube, The Gift of Healing.
It comes under Gift of Healing TV.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are always sort of titled Today's Conversation. But the videos, the links to the videos are on the Gift of Healing TV website, giftofhealingtv.com. There's a catch-up page for today's conversation, every single one of our videos. And this is the 98th program of the Today's Conversation. So next month we will have our 100th. So there are a lot of conversations there, many different topics. If you're interested in sort of what have we been talking about, if something touches you, please listen. That's what they are there for. That's why we do them. So thank you, Jules. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you to those who've watched us live and who watched the replay. We'll see you soon. Namaste, sweet souls.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. There we go.